Okay, all right. What's up to all of you future millionaires out there? We have a guest with us today that is accomplished in life. And he's going to speak with us today about how to create our own personal narratives in life to create whatever we truly desire to accomplish. Sanal Bhanu Rajan is a thought leader and international speaker who helps people find lasting freedom, happiness, and fulfillment through his logical and tangible approach of mind transformation. We're going to get into a little bit of how he does that. So, Nal, I'd like to welcome you to our show today. Welcome to the Millionaire by Morning podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here to be part of this podcast and really interested to see what we can co-create together in this episode.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
man. You are perfect for this podcast, for what you speak on. We speak a lot about mindset and manifestation. And
hmm
as far as you are a spiritual life coach, which is, like I say, it's perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what walked you into this path?
Yeah. So where I am with my path right now is a very different place than where I started it from and what I initially intended to do. Initially, it was more of a it was about being a really proficient and adept spiritual teacher, being in a place where I can help a lot of people, like spiritually. That was initially the way I started the journey from. But then there was a lot of changes that happened. I realized the need for more inclusive sort of philosophy, where one that doesn't uh, demand the people to kind of tear off their beliefs and like completely build new ones on top of it in order to make things work. And it's like it's very difficult actually, the changing the beliefs and uprooting your entire belief system to make something work in your life. So I kind of wanted to create something that's completely free of dogmas that doesn't really demand any sort of believing to make the ideas work of its own. So that was the so it and then it just kind of took me to different places. I started off with the intention to be a spiritual teacher, but then I found myself teaching in universities. What I'm at the work that I'm doing right now. One of my friend, he convinced me to. He told me like, "Hey man, people in universities, they are in the youth, so they need this, and we cannot just kind of be only working with people who are just in a certain age or something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when we're thinking of spirituality, it's just kind of at least on a scale, we kind of think of people at a certain age and above. So he kind of really convinced me, it's like really meant for all sort of spheres. And I started going to universities and started teaching, and it was not just one university. I was kind of moving from universities to universities to universities. So I would be spending a week in a university and moving on to the next, moving on to the next kind of stuff. So it was really, yeah, I just kind of really brought me a different kind of perspective. And then I happened to just work one on one with people who have been in different kind of places. Their original motivation has nothing to do with spirituality. Like one of the persons, um, she was like really struggling with a lot of pain in her life, physical pain. Someone else, she already was really good at her spirituality and yoga and all these things. It was just more about something different, something that moved her differently, internally and externally, and just feeling like you have a completely different kind of relationship with your mind as the one you had before, where it just was, it didn't feel like much of a relationship, but more like you kind of living at effect with the mind rather than uh, any sort of co-creation happening there in the internal space. Yeah.
That's uh, a lot of people don't know, based off the podcast and hearing people talk about spirituality, the way that you just explained it is, a lot of people are fighting with their mind or, trying to overcome something instead of being just one, body, mind, and soul. And I see on your website somewhere that you had put that we in this day and age don't have time to go sit in a cave and meditate all day. So
Hmm.
your spiritual guidance is based on today's living, today's lifestyle. So can you give us some insight into that, into breaking it down into that?
Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, the modern science and the technologies that we have at our disposal right now has allowed us to learn very nuanced understandings of the way our mind works, like the circuitry, the pathways within the brain when it comes to fear, and there's different kind of pathways within the brain when it comes to the pathways in which it navigates. And there's things that we can do to just kind of reroute the pathways so that we don't get into those kind of stuck places and freeze modes. So it's just kind of really interesting how, and the techniques, some of these techniques were already there back then, but the thing is, we just didn't have the kind of uh, understanding
Mhm.
of why it is working so, other than some spiritual understanding of it. Like, for example, when we are doing yoga, or when you're doing some breathing practices, there's all sort of ideas about why you feel calmer, why you feel more better when you do the deep breathing. But one of the things that we don't really often hear spoken about is the fact that all emotional states that we go through, is all directly in relation to the gas combination within the system, meaning the oxygen to carbon dioxide level within the system. So that's the thing that we are manipulating when we are changing the breathing. So thus allowing the gas combination level to change. If in the system, in your body, if the amount of carbon dioxide accumulated is more than the amount of oxygen, then you are in a sympathetic state. Sympathetic state meaning restlessness comes with it. Like parasympathetic state is uh, more conducive to rest and relaxation, rejuvenation, so that kind of thing. So sympathetic states, more restless. So kind of like you feel you're not really relaxed in the moment. You feel like you need to do something. So there's a certain sense of restlessness. So that's any kind of all kind of negative emotional states that we usually deal with. They are all sympathetic states. So they are all related to having more carbon dioxide in the system than oxygen in the system. So if you just understand it like that, it just gives us the leverage. Like, okay, all I have to do is just change the gas combination in the system. So let me just kind of do some institutive breathing, right? So you're not breathing without like just randomly, okay, let me just kind of breathe through this moment or something. No, you're breathing because you know what you're exactly doing. What's why you are breathing. You you understand the why it works.
Right.
See? So it allows like a different kind of holistic way of integrating something that you
Yeah.
do into your life rather than just simply doing it. Like, for example, this is like a really beautiful practice, like simply unplunging the jaw, because any kind of sympathetic state is also associated with clenched jaws. So there's tension you will hold in the jaw. The body goes body and mind goes together. So your mind is tense, the body is tensed on some level. So it's the basic point. You cannot be the body is in absolute relaxation and your mind is somehow tensed. It's just like it just doesn't go. Like if we like go back into memory, we don't really remember that kind of moments because it just doesn't exist. Mind and body they go together. Yeah. So you just start doing the smallest thing, like as small as unclenching the jaw. Now that already activates your parasympathetic nervous system, and also it activates the vagus nerve, which is responsible for distributing oxygen to all the vital organs within your body. So you already feel a shift in breathing happening just as you just simply unclench the jaw. You see, that's the thing. It's just like there's a lot of functions happening, vagus nerve getting activated, more oxygen is getting distributed, me including the brain. And guess what happens when you're like feeling like, oh, I don't know. There's like literally no blood flowing into the brain, you know? So you want blood is simply, in simple layman's terms, it's just information plus energy. That's it. So there's just literally no information going into your brain. So of course, you just are not informed enough to make any sort of decision in the moment. You're kind of like frozen. You're like, you know, just just in some sort of a freeze mode, right?
Right.
So and especially people in business, when you have to make decisions under high stress, under less than ideal situations. Oh yeah, you and you want to make the right kind of decisions because the decisions you make is going to have consequences down along the line. You
Hmm.
know, so it's very key. It's very key that you understand your system and how it works, and not just in a spiritual understanding, like, oh yeah, my ego is the cause of my suffering or my anxiety or something. That doesn't give us much to work with. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we need like practical sort of an understanding of what's going on with my mind. Like how does my mind experience what it's experiencing right now? Does my experience has anything to do with what is going on, or it has nothing to do with it? These are like important questions because we always think there is something connected to it, right? We always think it's connected, like, okay, our emotion has something to do with what's going on. So it's just like it's all different perspective. Once you understand, like, okay, emotions are created, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what is there. It's just how it's about your only it factors in your perception that allows the infinite variety of experiences that we are able to experience. 100 people can go walk into a movie theater and come out with 100 different experiences of it because their experience has nothing to do with what is. It has everything to do with how they saw it. See, that's all.
The perception.
See, perception alone counts when it comes to the subjective experience you are having. Nothing is factored in. But most of the time, we meaninglessly waste a lot of time blaming and looking at places where we just absolutely have any power to make any difference on, because we don't take into consideration like experiences 100% mind made. You see, so it's just like you factor in certain things, then you can like, okay, so how am I creating this? I can go directly into my mind, you know how am I creating this? I can go into my mind instead of like, okay, what's going on? Like, oh, I think there's something wrong because I'm just reading from my emotions, like, but I cannot read from my emotions because emotions are already mind made entirely. So but we are thinking the emotion we are experiencing is telling you something about what's going on, but it doesn't. But so these kind of things really makes sense because then we stop confusing intuition for just assumptions for that matter. Because many time we just confuse our instinct and some sort of a reading we make out of the emotion, the same.
Yeah. So, am I hearing you say, and if I can put it in my own words, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
what we do as humans is operate from the end when we should be operating from the beginning. So you're looking at, we end up looking at the emotion that whatever experience and whatever has caused, we end up saying, oh, now I feel this way or I have this emotion. When in fact, if you would have started from the beginning, changing the perception, you would end up with a totally different emotion.
Yeah, but we cannot go into changing all the perception because perception is some sort of like a process that's always kind of the rendering is always going on in the background. You're never really consulted. Okay, how should I perceive the situation? It's just kind of you just have a perception there. Just like in a moment's notice, just like that. So the thing is, all you can do is go back you can go back because it's already there is going to be a perception, a conception, and a perception is already always going on in order for you to make sense of what is going on, how to effectively engage with the moment. So this is like an ongoing process. It never, and you are not really factored in. Your mind is not really factored in, but your mind can come in. The thing is, we are always living at effect with the mind, but we can kind of go back and be at cause with it, by going into, okay, so how am I creating this? How am I seeing the situation? Is this serving me the way I'm seeing this situation? Do I love it? Do I enjoy this? And do I enjoy what this seeing creates within me? Is this seeing moving me closer to me at my best or away from it? You see, soul orienting questions, questions that would kind of shake me up in some way, questions that would kind of, because it's not about being stuck with the way I'm seeing it. And I'm just looking at the bird's eye view. Okay, what am I creating as a result of this seeing? How am I experiencing myself in this moment? Because I'm seeing it this way. Because you're experiencing yourself all the time differently, you know, changing. Your experience of yourself is always changing all the time. So it's just about, do I love it? Do I love what I'm experiencing? Or I have the choice in changing it by simply shifting my perception. So that is only possible if I have the discernment that how I see is not how it is. It simply is how I see it. It has nothing to do with how it is. So then I'm free. I can be like, okay, how would I like to see it? Because how I see it has nothing to do with how it is. So it's about whether how I see it is it useful. What am I creating from the space? Because my seeing is doing something, it's creating something in real time, you know, and I am operating from that place, you know. You're taking some sort of an inspiration from that place. You're either motivated and moving towards something, or you are motivated to move away from something. And something is going to happen, you know. That's the reptile inside of us, to avoid threat by any means. So if the experience is bad, guess what? We just see it as a threat and avoid it, right?
Yep.
So that
Yep.
so the especially when it comes to business, taking risk become like um, you have to take chances. I mean, unless you take those chances, you don't create those opportunities, you know, and you cannot pivot on it. It's like a boxer who only focus on defense, and like all he does through the entire 12 rounds is just defense. The chances of he winning is just slim to none because he just never created any opportunity to score any points. So there's just like no way he's gonna win.
Yeah.
He didn't put any throw any punches.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, get it. That makes sense. Um, you are from Indian background, of course. How much would you say that your upbringing and the whole Indian culture had to do with you going this route and, having to do with you just being spiritual as a whole?
No, I think being spiritual as all, it had a lot to do with India and the culture. Mm, but where I am right now, it has more been an individualistic sort of journey. Um, but I have been inspired by individuals in my life, like my father, um, my mother, you know, the people in my life who shaped my personality. And but yeah, it's just not where I am now. It's like I just kind of went on so many different paths, and I'm just somewhere at this point, somewhere along the journey. And I don't know whether I think it was just more like the freedom that I could have in my life, the time that I had to explore, and my family that supported me with that lifestyle, that afforded me to just be able to just fully focus and dive into research and self-development on all levels. You know, so just like that, my wife, I'll say, yeah, everyone had contributed immensely into me learning and being who I am and where I am today. Yeah, I'm not cannot just say one thing. So many things.
Got it. Spiritual journey. Um, so let's get into what you have to offer as far as your courses and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how you can help people out and what's included.
Well, again, I'm a man of many skills, so I do can help people on a variety of levels. But what I would like to bring up here, since this is the millionaires, it's focused on creating financial freedom. It's about decision making, you know, how decision making, the choices and the decisions you make create results in your life. The circumstances that you find yourself in later on in life has everything to do with the choices you make right now. So you're kind of creating, in a way, you're co-creating the future, circumstances, through the choices and everything you're making right now. So what I would like to offer is like it's about streamlining decision making under high stress, less than ideal situations, time constraints, you know, big stakes, everything involved. How you can streamline decision making so that you don't procrastinate and go into indecision, you know, and you just act without having to go into too much thinking. You just can act. You're clear. So that's something that I would like to offer because it's just it's really interesting for people who have to make a lot of decisions that
Right.
has a lot of consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely need your mind open and blood flowing and not second guessing yourself, not having foggy
Yeah,
brain. Yeah, I get it.
exactly. Exactly. You can simply kind of go into a self-doubt. You can simply go into some sort of a non-grounded place, and you're operating from a less than optimal place. That's the thing, it's just like when you are insecure or when you're operating from a place of uh, insecurities or fear or something like that, what happens is that you don't have access to the totality of your abilities and skills and capabilities and capacities at that time. You only have access to a very small range of who you are and how you are in that moment. So it's very pivotal. You having that strong groundedness, that allows you to operate at your best, where you have access to the totality of who you are and how you are, and access to all those abilities that you have developed through life. That's the problem, people have these skills. It's just like as soon as the stress kicks in, suddenly they just don't have it.
Yep.
You know, it's just
Yep.
like they don't have access to it. It's there, but as soon as they are not stressed anymore, they have access to it back again.
Yep.
So that's where that kind of stuff is really key. So when you have to make that decision under stress, and it's not really a thing where you can kind of like get the whole thing out of the situation, what do? Right? Are you gonna just make something because that doesn't really yield good results usually. When you
Yeah.
kind of just like, okay, I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah. Just push the button. Now just push A,
No,
B, C, D.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You still kind of need to be in a good place. You need to have like not much thoughts going on in your head. You need to be clear. That happens when your values are in congruence,
Right.
and there is no conflict between your value hierarchy. There is no conflict between your motivations. Yeah, yeah. All of these stuff matters there. So it's where you just remove all these kind of, because sometimes you can have a high value which is in conflict with some of the other values that's coming beneath in the
Right.
hierarchy, and then you're like, oh, that's when you are kind of torn, because it's kind of like fulfilling one value, but it's not fulfilling the main value. Then you're like, oh, get it. It's just like once you streamline all of that, and you find the biggest value that is inclusive of all those other values that comes in the hierarchy, and you just need to ask that one thing, and you just can zip that,
That's
to
the
his life.
alignment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I I read something. I can't put my finger on exactly what it was, but I'll forever remember it. And it was questioning a lot of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, and every single last one of them, they asked what was their key to success. And every last one of them said meditation. That's what they all fell back on, was meditation. And I always thought that that was very profound, because basically what that actually does is get you into an alignment with, like you were just saying, um,
Yeah,
all of your
yeah.
values.
You can just do something as simple as, like a 5-minute exercise of first starting off with an unclenching the jaw, relaxing the back of the tongue, because that's a satiation response. It arrests the self-talk right away. So you can just kind of go into do unclenching the jaw, then relaxing the back of the tongue, and then kind of expand your peripheral vision by resting your eyes on somewhere in your, you know, in your environment, letting your eyes rest on something, and simply letting your peripheral vision expand, your spacious awareness expand. Because usually, when we are feeling stressed, when we are feeling tension, when we are feeling fear, our awareness kind of narrows down into a small space kind of in order to kind of just locate the threat. So
Yeah,
we kind of want to do the exact opposite of it by bringing your peripheral vision, not the focal vision. Focal vision is where your eyes fall. So the peripheral vision is like, this is my peripheral vision. I can still see my hands moving without even looking at it. So just simply expanding your spatial awareness in all sort of directions, in the above, on the sides, below yourself, in front of you, in the back of you. Just but not imagining it, but really like kind of sensing it, sensing the space, you know, kind of, and that also. immediately it lets a lot of blood flow into the prefrontal cortex and to the brainstem, and it also dampens the amygdala, which is also responsible for sending signals to the brainstem to amplify all sort of physiological processes that gets us into that sort of a state in the first place. Yeah. So it's really good. So you do like 2 or 3 of these kind of exercises like that, and do that for a few days. Then there is something that happens in the in our brain that's called neural priming, where you're priming the neurons to respond in a sequential manner, in a chain. It becomes like a chain of sequence. So at that point, all you have to do is to simply remember to unclench the jaw, and the rest will already follow. So also you can incorporate the 1:2 breathing, like taking a so inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth in an 1:2 ratio. So the point is we are changing the gas combination and also stimulating the brainstem at the same time. So it's just works wonders. It barely takes 5 minutes to do these 3 or 4 sequence of stuff. Unclenching the jaw, relaxing the back of the tongue, 1:2 ratio breathing, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, right? So after that, simply expanding the spacious awareness by letting your focal awareness rest on something, your attention, eyes resting on some object, expand your spatial awareness. Yeah. So these are all things that, and at some point, you just unclench the jaw, and the rest will just naturally just can happen, and you're like that there.
Wow.
You know.
Wow. That's actionable steps. All you need
Yeah.
is implementation. All you have to do is implement it. To anyone listening out there.
Just small steps, small steps. This is as small as a step as unclenching the jaw. Cannot get easier than that.
I got it, man. Are you on social media giving these lessons or showing people how to do this?
Yeah. People, who are inspired by what I'm sharing today, if you guys want to follow me on social media, you can follow me in Instagram, in YouTube. My name is Sanal Bhanu Rajan. You can search my name in YouTube. In Instagram, my handle is Wisdom with Sanal, my first name. So Wisdom with with me one-on-one coaching, can reach out to me through my coaching website, www.spiritualogic.com. So it's spiritual, SPIRITUALOGIC. So with one L in the middle, spiritualogic.
How long in length is your coaching program?
I do a 3 months coaching package. So, and after the 3 months, usually it's up to the person. So, just developmental coaching is up to the person how far they want to take it. You see. So, but the basic, the standard sort of going is like I do the 3 months coaching, because by that point you are in a very different space than where you started from. That's the point.
Okay.
Usually, what you intended to do and your outcomes and goals, it kind of changes at 3 months
Right.
period when you're a very different person. So
Right.
kind of decide from there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I um I appreciate it, Sanal. These are actionable steps that people can actually get started on today. And then I would implore you to go to the website, to go to the social media and get as much of it as you can, because we have to start somewhere to, how should I say, recognize ourselves, recognize our body, soul, and spirit, and how to put them in the proper places so for maximum performance and to just become the better, best version of ourselves. So I want to thank you today for stopping into the show. and giving us all of these gems that you dropped for us today. All right.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we could create this. It was I'm sure it would be bringing richness to the listeners' world.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. All right, man. You enjoy. I don't know if it's a vacation. It sure does look like it.
No,
But
I'm living here.
okay. Okay. All right. That's awesome, man. Um, so yeah, have a good day. I'm gonna circle back. I'm going to drop all of your links in the comments, but yet it's
Okay.
still you and I might can be able to create something with my followers in a Facebook group or something like that. I'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Together.
man. Well, have a good night, Sanal.
Yeah.